Okay, so thanks everyone for saying hello. I wanted to just get a little bit of an insight into who I have on the call, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about our wonderful city and our university here in Galway. So I'm not sure. I assume everybody has done a little bit of research on Ireland and Galway. Maybe some of you have already visited. I'm not sure that either. Hopefully there has been a few international travellers on the call. But Galway, as you'll see from the red arrow, it's located on the west coast of Ireland. So some of you might have heard of Dublin, which is our capital city. We're on the complete opposite side of the country. So you'll see that on the map there. You know, we've Dublin over here on the west coast or east coast, and Galway over here on the west. So we have a very wonderful county, and we're on the coast. So we're on the Atlantic coast. So that means we have amazing scenery. We have some great beaches, although the weather isn't really good for beaches at the moment. But our coastline is pretty impressive. And Galway here is one of the biggest cities in our region. So it's a university city, and I'll come to that in a moment. But it's been kind of acknowledged internationally with a lot of cultural related awards. So we're known for being very charming, and we're known for being the capital of culture. So we always have something going on in our city. So it could be festivals, music, art, drama. We have a lot of performers who perform on our streets, busking. And you may have heard of a guy called Ed Sheeran, who's famous for his Galway Girl song. His career started on the streets of Galway, where he used to perform for the locals and the visitors. And we're also one of the most international cities in Ireland. So our population is very diverse. In our university alone, we have students from close to 120 different countries. So coming to Galway is not coming to a small city in the west coast of Ireland. It's coming to a very international city, which is very well known internationally for many things. In fact, a lot of people come to Ireland and come to Galway specifically, and they never want to leave. So that's a good testament to how nice our city is. So I just wanted to flash this picture up here. This is a very famous scene in Salt Hill, which is like our seaside resort, which is about 10 minutes walk from the university. And this is Salt Hill, and this is our pier. So a lot of our students like to do a lot of charity events here. So swimming in the winter and raising lots of money for different charities. And you can see they jump off the diving board there into the freezing cold Atlantic Ocean. But they seem to be okay with that. I've never done it, and I have no intention of doing it, but it looks like fun, but just a bit too cold for us. So just a little bit about our university. We are one of the oldest institutions in Ireland, and our medical school is the oldest faculty in our university. And that means basically we have been educating and teaching doctors for nearly 175 years. So it's something that we're pretty good at, and pretty confident in saying that. Our university has about 20,000 students at the moment, and we're a very traditional institution. So that means we have students from a lot of different academic disciplines spread out over 5 colleges, 16 different schools with 60 different academic disciplines. So in addition to studying medicine, you will be, making friends for life with students from courses in business, engineering, science, and the arts and humanities. So you'll have access to a whole other range of disciplines during your time in Galway, and within medicine. So I mentioned already, we have close to 20,000 students now from 115 different countries, and our alumni network is vast. So we have over 100,000 alumni worldwide, working in some of the world's biggest industry, companies, research institutes, clinical facilities. So our network is vast and very welcoming, which is always good for students to hear. So, whatever country in the world you want to go to, you will always find Galway graduates who are willing to help and support you with that transition. So that's positive. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about our city and our university campus. So we're a very student-friendly city. We have close to 25,000 students between our university and a sister university on the other side of our city. So that's 25,000 students out of a population of nearly 90,000. So it's a very young city. It's a very fun city. And I mentioned earlier, there's a lot to do. There's always something happening. And we're also one of Ireland's largest cities. So we're fifth behind Dublin, Limerick, Cork, and Belfast. So we're a small city, but you know, a very nice city and a very safe, friendly environment for international students. And that's one of the reasons we attract international students, is because it's very safe, the people are very friendly, and the city is used to having a lot of students all year round. So, you know, the university is based in the city centre, a very short walk, and you're in the city and you're in the university. So that's really good as well. The other really exciting thing for international students is the cost of living for international students is a quarter cheaper than in other cities across Ireland. So that's a significant difference. So if you were to move to Dublin, your cost of living is quite high. It is the capital city, and you know, the universities are you know, well known, but it's very expensive. So that's another good thing about Galway. We are ranked in the top 1% of universities worldwide, and we're a leading institution for employability. So that means our reputation internationally is very strong, and our students, you know, I think it's 97% of our students gain employment after they leave university. And that would be fairly obvious in a discipline like medicine, where all our students, you know, get work as, you know, intern doctors or senior house officers. But in other disciplines, that's really, really high. So that's a good testament to the support we give our students while they're here with us. We have over 3,500 international students, and I mentioned the different countries earlier, and the School of Medicine is the largest discipline for international students. So we have 3,500 students spread across our institution, but the majority of those students are studying in the College of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences. So that's really good as well. So you will meet students from all of these different countries. You'll see your own flag there up on the left-hand side. But we tend to attract students from a lot of different countries, but there are some that are more popular than others. So we have a large group of North American students, so students from the USA and Canada. We have a lot of students from Southeast Asia, Malaysia in particular, and Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and another area is in the Middle East. So we have a lot of students from the Gulf countries of Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and Oman who come here through a government scheme. So when you're studying medicine, you're studying with an international group. And we also have a lot of Irish students and European students, as would be fairly obvious for an Irish institution. So just to tell you a little bit more about our degree program. So in Galway, we offer two different entry points. So we have a 5-year program and we have a 6-year program. And those are the two disciplines or two programs that you would be applying to as international applicants. Our 5-year program is typically for students presenting IB and A-level qualifications with 36 points in total in the IB and 3 A stars in the A-level qualification. And we would also expect students to have 2 to 3 sciences as well, science subjects, preferably chemistry, biology, mathematics, and maybe physics as well as a third subject. And the 6-year program is typically for students the same entry point with the 36 IB points as well. And the difference here is that students may not have the 3 science subjects. And we review this on a case-by-case basis. So, you know, it's not always very clear cut. We don't always say you have to have 3 sciences or you have to have 2. Because it will depend on a student's performance in the subjects, but also what else they have done as part of their education or extracurricular activities. So we have a little bit of flexibility on the 6-year program, but for the 5 years, it's definitely 36 points on the IB and A's on the A levels. And it's quite competitive. Medicine in Ireland is a very competitive discipline to get into, so the entry requirements are quite high. And I just wanted to bring your attention to kind of 3 new areas that we've brought on in the last number of years as well. So students can have the opportunity to pursue a PhD. So while you're doing your medicine degree, there's an opportunity in year 3 of our program to apply for an intercalated PhD. So that means you would take some time out of your medical degree right in the middle of the program in year 3, and you would pursue a PhD program and then return to your undergraduate medical degree. So that means you would graduate with an undergraduate medical degree and a PhD program as well. So that's very popular. You can't apply for it separately. You have to get onto our medical degree program first, and then you would apply for the PhD program while you're studying your medical degree. And the other new one, which is very exciting and the first of its kind in Europe, is we're also offering a medical and an engineering degree. So the same rules would apply. You need to gain entry into the medical degree. You would spend 3 years studying medicine, and then you would start to look at the engineering component of the program. And you would graduate with a medical and engineering degree, which is very attractive. And this program is being delivered by what we're calling one of our superstar academics, who has worked with NASA on the engineering side, and he's done some amazing work on the medical side as well. He is kind of spearheaded a lot of initiatives in medicine, and has combined that nicely with his engineering background. So it's a very unique offering in Europe, and it's quite a popular one for our students at the moment. There's a lot of interest and a lot of curiosity. And then students can also pursue a science degree. So that's an extra year. So again, in the middle of your medical degree, you can kind of boost your employability, boost your knowledge of the sciences, and in addition to your medical degree, you can graduate with a BSc in science as well. So that's just a quick introduction to the pathways to our 5 and 6 year program and the unique offerings we have while you're studying medicine as well. So I'll run through this slide as well, and I might pause for any questions at that point, because I'm giving you a lot of information and I want to be sure you kind of have a full grasp of what I'm talking about. So we get asked a lot of questions like, how many weeks of clinical placement do I have? When am I going to see a patient? When am I going to do my first clinical exam, on a patient? And, that's all really exciting stuff. And, we want to share that information with you. So I'll do that now. But first, I'll just take you through our program. So the middle section here. So most students enter our program in year 1. And then the foundation year students is for students who don't have all of the necessary science degrees, or subjects. So I mentioned that a moment ago. So you would study chemistry, physics, and biology in the foundation year, and then an introduction to medicine. And then you will proceed to year 1 of our program. So that's just the difference between the foundation year entry and year 1 entry. And in the first 2 years, dependent on what year you enter, we look at the body and we look at the normal structure, function, and behavior. So when we're all fit and healthy and everything is going great, that's what you study in year 1 and 2. And then in years 2 and 3, you start to look at when the body is not working so well. So you start to look at the structures, functions, and behaviors of the systems, and why, what goes wrong, how, and how to diagnose those. And then in years 4 and 5, you have full clinical immersion. So that means you are in the hospital more than you're in the classroom, which is what really everybody wants to be. So I'll run through the subjects in each year. So I mentioned year 0, which is foundation year. And in year 1, you'll study the body structure, all of the different systems, and how the body works in its right state, and when we're all fit and healthy. In year 2, we start to look at kind of health and disease. We look at pharmacology, drugs and disease, and how we use the pharmacology and drugs and disease to treat when the body isn't working as it should be. And then in year 3, semester 1, we start to look at global health and development and advanced knowledge of health and disease too. And we start to introduce you to clinical skills. So, taking a patient's vital signs, how to do a very basic patient history. And in semester 2 of year 3, you start your clinical interaction. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the early patient contact in foundation year, because we get a lot of questions about, as I mentioned, when are we going to see patients? When are we going to get to do some hands-on clinical skills? So anybody who joins the foundation year will participate in a program called Early Patient Contact. And this is where you learn all of your basic bedside skills. You would follow a team in the hospital for a number of hours a week in semester 1, and you would, learn things like how to take patient history, how to interpret a patient's vital signs. So if somebody's heart rate is high, what does that mean? If you want to take somebody's pulse, you'd be taught all of these basic clinical skills. But you would also be working with a multidisciplinary team. So you will be working with, very senior level professors and consultants. You will be working with the nursing staff, the allied health professional staff, so physiotherapists, speech and language therapists, and you'll get exposure to that very early, which is very unique to our program, and it's pretty cool because not every student gets to experience that very early in their medicine training. And you will also, make bedside diagnosis, in clinical medicine, obviously in conjunction with a very, very senior member of staff. So you will be walked through, a patient diagnosis, and you will be, learn how the thought process behind how diagnoses are made. So that's a really, really good program. And, any students who are lucky enough, to enter the foundation year and get access to this is wonderful. Otherwise, if you come into our program on the 5-year program, it's year 3, semester 2, before you start your clinical training. So lots of differences in the different pathways. So in terms of the clinical curriculum then, I mentioned we start this in year 3, semester 2. So our academic year runs from September to May each year. So semester 1 is defined as September to December, and semester 2 is January to May. So in year 3 of semester 2, this is where you start your full clinical training, and where you actually spend 16 weeks of clinical rotations in general medicine and surgery. So you would cover general topics like, gastrointestinal studies, you would do endocrinology, and on the surgery side, you would shadow doctors or surgeons in general surgery. So you'd get to see procedures, and you would learn all of the different techniques and skills that surgeons use in that component. Then in year 4, I apologize, I have 2 small children here beside me who have now decided to talk, so bear with me on that. Yes. So in year 4, this is a really, really exciting year, because it's the first full year where students spend their whole academic training in the hospital. And you spend 40 weeks, so 2 kind of 20-week semesters, studying the disciplines of psychiatry, general practice, women's health, and children's health. And this year is particularly difficult for students because it's the first full clinical year. And we ease you in nicely into a semester in year 3, but this year can be quite tough. And the disciplines are, quite specific as well. Whereas in year 3, it's quite generic. You're looking at medicine and surgery in kind of, very generic terms, but you start to specialize and develop very specific knowledge in year 4. And then in year 5, which is the final year, which may feel like way off now, but medicine flies. The 5 or 6 years studying medicine goes really, really quick. And this is basically where we prepare our graduates, our students, to graduate and prepare them for the transition from medical education into clinical practice. And you spend up to 32 weeks on the hospital wards. And again, you start to study general medicine and surgery at a very advanced level. And we run a series of modules in neurology here as well. And also we do what's called transition to practice. So basically that's where we get our students ready for internship. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So I'm just conscious, I'm talking a lot. And I just wanted to pause to catch a cup of coffee and have a drink, but also to answer maybe any questions on the curriculum at this stage, or any other questions anybody has, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, especially. And by the way, so you know, so but about the foundation year. So do you still require A level, some 3 A's for foundation and to entry to foundation year?
Was that for me, Sono? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the A levels, yes, I suppose the key difference between the 5 and the 6 year program when it comes to entry requirements is the subjects. Yeah, so we still require the IB 36 points and the A stars in the A levels. But we have, if a student presents with a B in the A level and it's in, maybe physics, opposed to chemistry or biology, then that's something that we can discuss and talk to the student about. But for the 5 year program, it's non-negotiable. For the 6 year program, dependent on the candidate, we can have that conversation and a little bit of flexibility on the entry requirements. Not too much. We would still expect a really, really high standard, but the difference is the number or the discipline studied. So, if a student hasn't got chemistry, they would definitely be looking at the 6 year program. If a student had chemistry and mathematics but not biology or physics, then we can look at that also. But chemistry is a big deal for us and most medical schools. It's kind of a core component of the program all the way through. So we need our applicants to have strong competency in that. But we do have a bit of flexibility, and we do look at each applicant on a case-by-case basis and what's presented to us in terms of the information. So, yeah.
How about this? I got some excellent students in South Korea. They're looking for some medical schools in South Korea. So, it's difficult to get in South Korea, but it's still really good, biology, chemistry, math, and a good level of English. In this case, can you consider, so your 6 year medicine from foundation year without A level or foundation program?
Yeah, so it's 6 years with the foundation year.
Yeah. So
now, some applicants come to us and they've already done a foundation year, so that would make them eligible then, dependent on their performance in that foundation year. So they may have done a foundation year in another institution internationally and now want to apply to medicine. At that point, then they would be eligible for the 5 year program, dependent on results achieved.
Direct from high school from South Korea. So we have a 12-year education system. Normally, so we have to do foundation program to progress to UK university. But you have a 6 year medicine program you do 1 year foundation year. Can you consider students who directly from high school with good results or something?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done that in the past, but we do that yeah, I think that would be good, because we do it in other countries. We accept students direct entry from high school in other countries, such as the US and Canada, but also in Malaysia. So we're more than happy to review kind of local qualifications as well at the high school level, but we'd have to really define the criteria around that before we could accept applications. But we can discuss that offline.
So in the Canadian high school, they can directly apply for UK university, university. So we have a little bit different education system. Let me discuss this later on. Yeah.
Yes, I think that would
Okay.
be really, really good. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think anybody has any questions that I can see or have asked, which is
I don't think so my students is looking at the foundation program and so direct entry for this, but it is so direct entry so at the moment is that I don't think so they are interested in some core some medical program. Not at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, I'll move on. So, and I just wanted to talk about some of the unique things about Galway, of which there are many. So I think we talk a lot about our medical academies, and basically in UI Galway, or the medical school a few years back, we underwent a lot of expansion. And we wanted to be able to offer our students both an urban and a clinical experience. And also, we wanted to expand their knowledge, of Ireland as well, but all along the west coast of Ireland. So our hospital structure is set up where we have kind of regional hospitals. And we set up, I suppose we could call it mini medical schools across the Western Seaboard here in Ireland. And all our students in year 3, all our students at some point in their medical education will spend 1 calendar year in one of these satellite medical academies. We tend to do that in year 3, semester 2. And year 4, semester 1. So 1 full calendar year, you'll move from Galway and you'll move to one of these locations. Our first one is in Donegal, and that's kind of up here on the, that's this academy here. Then we have Sligo, and then we have Mayo Medical Academy. And the Ballinasloe Medical Academy is based in County Galway. So it's based about 20 miles from Galway City. They're the 4 locations. And what's really, really unique about this is these are smaller hospitals, smaller academies. And what that means is that the student-patient ratio is really, really small. So each student nearly has 1-to-1 interaction with the multidisciplinary team and the patients that they're working with. The small group teaching is, it is small. It could be 3 to 4 students in Galway. It could be, 10, 15, 20, dependent on the discipline. But you also get to experience what we call, an urban and rural clinical experience, which is significantly different. So in Galway, you will be working in a very large hospital. The hospitals see over 1 million patients a year. The catchment area is quite wide. But in these academies, you get a different type of exposure, and you'll see patients. You get to interact with patients at a more kind of in-depth level, and you get to work with the hospital teams, the consultants, and senior staff very, very closely. So that's quite unique to Galway. They're all brand new buildings, so everything is state of the art in the teaching and the clinical side. And they're located together. So the academy is attached to the hospital, which is the same in the Galway Teaching Centre as well, which basically means, if you're expected to be at lectures at 8 o'clock in the morning and on the hospital ward at 9 o'clock, you have like a 1-minute walk to get to your destination. And I'll show you a map in a moment of how close. If one of my colleagues, Dr. Hallahan, he normally delivers these sessions with me. His office is on the ground floor of our teaching facility, and his clinical office is literally down the corridor. So he walks from one to the other without any effort, and very quickly. So that's a really good in terms of the student experience, that you don't have to travel, which you would do if you're based in Dublin. The hospital facilities are not on site. So that's a pretty unique thing about Galway, is the location and the proximity of our teaching and clinical facilities. So I'll just touch on this very, very quickly. So as a result of COVID, I guess we had to really, really fast track how we use simulation in our medical training. And we're starting work on our new simulation centre, which will be the first in-hospital campus in Ireland to have an on-site simulation centre. And basically what that means is, you know, in addition to clinical training, our students will have the opportunity to work in a state-of-the-art simulation centre. So practicing your clinical skills in an almost real life environment. And work on this building is starting in March of this year, so in a couple of weeks' time. So it will be very advanced by the time, hopefully, you would join us in Galway. And I just wanted to mention that I don't have too much more to say about it, but simulation has been used a lot more in the delivery of undergraduate medical education worldwide. And Galway will be at the forefront of this once we get our simulation centre up and running. So that's quite exciting for us as staff to see all of this happening, and even more so for our students when they get the opportunity to work in this centre. So we had some questions at the very beginning about the curricular delivery for the new academic year. So it's very hard to say how things are going to go. But last year, this is how we delivered our medical program. So it was basically a hybrid model. So it was blended learning at its very best. We used all of our online virtual tools in addition to any on-campus teaching that we could deliver within restrictions. So basically, I'll run you through this quickly, because if you do decide to come to a new Galway and submit an application, you'll hear this terminology quite a bit. So we talk about asynchronous and synchronous teaching. And basically the asynchronous teaching means that you will do your own learning in your own time, but it will be delivered online. So we use a virtual learning portal called Blackboard. And this is where we put all of our recorded lectures, our materials, and any activity or resources that you need to do this learning in your own time would be delivered through Blackboard. And then asynchronous teaching is basically live scheduled sessions, and these are delivered online. So the academic in question could be in a classroom delivering this session, and it would be live, it would be interactive, and everybody would, you know, like a classroom, except you could be sitting in your sitting room or your kitchen table, but you would be interacting in a live situation with the teacher. And then obviously we have the face-to-face teaching, and this is where we would deliver our small group workshops, any laboratories, tutorials, skill sessions, workshops. The plan is to continue to deliver these types of sessions on campus, because they can't be delivered online effectively. So this is the area where you would be coming on campus and learning in that way. So it's a blended learning. I think it's safe to say that every institution in the world has adopted this model in the last 12 months in order to deliver the requirements to our students. So that's what 2020 looked like. I imagine 2021 will look like something similar, hopefully with a little bit more face-to-face on-campus teaching. Fingers crossed. Okay, so this is just, you know, sometimes it can be really hard to explain what life as a medical student looks like and the different touch points for students on the program. And I always find a graphic or an illustration is always a good way to present it. So I've covered a lot of the topics on subjects, what you will do in year 1 and year 3, what we call the preclinical years. So these are the years where you're looking at the theory that will underpin the practice that you will work on in years 3, 4, and 5. And just to, you know, we mark the transition from, you know, medical education into clinical education in year 3, and we have a big ceremony where we invite all our students in an ideal world on campus, and we have a big ceremony with our academic and clinical staff to mark the transition into clinical training, because it's a big one. It used to be called a white coat ceremony, where all our students would pick up their white coat, but we don't use white coats anymore. So it looks like something different these days. I'll come to our undergraduate summer research program in a moment, but if you were to engage in our summer program, you would do it in years maybe 2 or 3, and it's a 12-week summer research program, and I'll talk about that in a second. A lot of our international students like to do electives, so if you wanted to gain a little bit more knowledge in a discipline like psychiatry, family medicine, pediatrics, or any of the medical or surgery disciplines, you would typically do this in year 4. And you would do this over the summer months in your own time, you just to gain a little bit more knowledge. You might decide if you want to specialize in one area over another, but you're not sure if you like it. So this is the time where you would experience this and learn a little bit more about a discipline. Year 5, this is where you get ready to leave us, and we prepare you to leave us and get into the world of medicine. And in year 5, you will have the opportunity to apply for the Hse Internship. So this is the Irish National Internship Program, and all medical graduates have to do an additional year or 2 in some countries of an internship before you can get your medical council accreditation. Ireland, it's a 1-year, 12-month program in the Irish healthcare system. In the UK, it's a 2-year program, and in other jurisdictions, it's a 12-month as well. It just depends on where you want to go. But in Ireland, it's 12 months. It's a very competitive process because it's open to all medical students, like regardless of where you're from, in Ireland. So students from the other universities in Dublin and Cork, the Royal College of Surgeons, and in the University of Limerick will all have the opportunity to apply for this internship, as will our students. So it is competitive. We do get asked every year, will I get an internship? Unfortunately, that's hard to predict. It's competitive, so you would apply like every other student, and it's the process is managed by the HSE, so it's not managed by the schools, so we have kind of no say in it, but we do work very closely with the Department of Health, a government department, in terms of extending the numbers of those internships available, in particular for international students. So in the last, I think I'm in my position now about 5 or 6 years, but in the last 5 years, every year we've seen an incremental increase in the number of internships available. And last year, the Department of Health extended the number of internship places, and all graduates from the last 3 years were offered an internship in Ireland. So that was really, really good and really positive. And we hope that increase will increase year on year. So by the time, if you're on the 5-year program, we're talking about hopefully having an internship place for every medical graduate in Ireland. So that's the positive side of that.
That is most important thing for Korean students. You used to have one Korean student due to restriction of taking internship, but now you are available 5 Korean students. And
yes.
So it's
like I think the key message is here that everybody, all our medical students are eligible to apply for this program, and it is competitive. So it's like if you're going for a job, you will be assessed on how you performed, what your academic grade was at the end, any extracurricular activities you've been engaged with, positions of leadership, volunteering, and all of that stuff is taken into consideration. But at the end of the day, there is a rank, so applicants are ranked, and dependent on your rank in that graduating class, that's how they allocate the places. So my advice is to work hard, and work really hard all the way through, but years 4 and 5 in particular, because your degree is awarded on an average of your result from year 4 and year 5, not just year 5. So those 2 years are critically important in terms of, you know, getting a really strong grade to kind of make sure you're in the running for an internship place. You know, and the same applies for the Irish students as well. You know, they have to work really hard to get, you know, a good grade, you know, aim for a good high second class honors. So anything kind of from 60%, 65% upwards would put students in a really good position. So, you know, that would be my advice. And hopefully by the time 2025 comes along, there will be an internship place for every medical student who graduates in Ireland. So fingers crossed on that one. And we are working really hard on that as well.
Do you often see, you know, do you often see, you know, so your student, your international student to apply for UK foundation program, 2-year foundation program, which is the internship? Yeah.
Yes, and that has become more popular in recent years as well. You know, some students, you know, who may not have been successful in the Irish internship do apply to the UK. But we also see some of our, actually, I have one of our Korean students. Well, he's a graduate from a few years ago now. He's applying to the US residency match this year. So the US is also a very popular option for international graduates because of the vast number of residency places there are for international medical graduates. So each year the US has about 15,000 places on residency programs, and about 7,000 of those go to international graduates. So, you know, the US is a very attractive option as well. There's a lot of, how would I describe it? There's a lot of hoops people have to jump through. So you have to sit a series of exams called the Usmle. And basically that's the entrance exam that students would have to sit. But it's a popular option.
Okay. Hello. 지금 화면이 잠깐 멈춘 것 같네요.
Travel and be recognized internationally. So students can apply, you know, to do their internship anywhere with our medical degree, but it would just depend on the local country's requirements for entry.
Okay, you're a little bit disconnected. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. It's a really good in a presentation. Anything else you can add?
No, I guess I did mention, no, just very briefly, because I'm sure the student presentation covered this for you earlier on, but I just wanted to talk about our undergraduate research program, which, you know, medical students love to do research, and this is a 12-week structured summer research program. And basically you're working with, you know, really like people who are at the forefront of research in our institution, either in the clinical or research center. And you're working on real life projects. So, you know, you're not just there doing some desk-based research, you're actually working very closely with academics and clinicians on their research topics. And some projects have actually been, student projects have been got publications, and they've presented at national and international conferences. So this research program can be a really good platform to develop your research skills, but also kind of gain some experience nationally and internationally by attending conferences and presenting. So it's a really good program. And also the study and work abroad. So the study abroad opportunities in medicine are in what we call an Erasmus program. So we have 6 partnerships in Europe. So in year 3 of our program, students can apply to go on Erasmus and spend 3 months working in a clinical environment in France, Germany, Spain, or no, not Spain, Switzerland, for 3 months, and then return to Galway and, you know, finish their year in Galway. So that's another kind of attractive selling point for studying medicine in Galway, in that you get to go abroad for 3 months if you want to apply for it. And just wanted to reinforce the student services. You know, I mean, I work exclusively with international students in the School of Medicine, which is a very good resource for our students. So, you know, if you do decide to come to Galway, everyone on the call, you'll probably see a lot of me during your time there. I'm like a first point of contact. So any issues at all, be it academic, professional, personal, whatever they are, you can come to me first, and then I will help kind of refer you on if I can't help you more specifically. The chances of anybody coming to Galway this year are very slim, or the chances of us going anywhere are very slim. So the two, I just wanted to highlight, you can do a virtual campus tour. So go onto YouTube, follow these links, have a look at our campus, but also review our undergraduate medical degree program that we delivered at our virtual open day. So one of my colleagues, Dr. Adina Moylish, she delivered this presentation, and I will go into a little bit more detail on the program and the structures, and you know, give you an idea of what you can expect studying medicine in Galway. And finally, just some parting words. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, coming to Galway and studying medicine, but you know, we are a kind of a very warm, friendly, you know, safe environment for students here in Galway. And you know, we can promise you that you will have access to world-class medical education. Our curriculum is modern, it's innovative, and the clinical and teaching facilities are all second to none. I mentioned this already, but an internationally recognized medical degree that you can basically practice medicine anywhere in the world, as long as you're meeting the local requirements of the country you want to practice in. Our teachers are world-class leaders in medicine and research. A lot of our staff, or all of our staff, are actively engaged in research internationally and nationally, and have, you know, working on some really, really exciting projects in cancer research, stem cell research, regenerative medicine. And you know, I can guarantee, I mean, I'm from Galway. I've studied here, I've lived here, I'm working here. I did leave for a while, but you know, I can guarantee you that the student experience, you will not find it anywhere else in the world. It's second to none. It's pretty unique. It's pretty amazing. And apart from the weather, everything is really, really positive. So on that note, I'll wrap up. I feel like I've talked for ages, but I think I have. So I'll pause for there. And if anybody has any questions, or Suno, if you have any other questions, we can.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your great presentation. Yeah. How about my student is asked there is are there, can you see there anyone actually dropped out from your medical schools? Someone who stops studying, or they.
Sorry, Suno, I didn't catch that. I don't know if it's the connection or.
Drop out, about drop out rate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's very low. It's very low. Our retention rate, you know, our aim is to get students through the program, you know, and, you know, inevitably, you know, students come and they study medicine and it's their dream, and sometimes it's just not what they expected. You know, but you know, our objective is to get students through the program. And you know, we see kind of year 4 as a critical point for a lot of students, and it's that 1 year where people might struggle. But the student support that we have in place, we have a very strong student affairs committee, where students, you know, who might be in distress, who want to leave for whatever reasons, be it academically, personally, and we work very closely with the students. We don't want to lose any student, you know, we want to get people through and we want to graduate them. So that's our goal, and our retention rate is very high. So we lose very few students. I don't have a number for it, I don't have a percentage, but I do know we lose very few every year. And usually it's for other reasons, you know, personal reasons, maybe returning to their home country, want to, you know, might miss their families, or an opportunity might have come up somewhere else. So, you know, the reasons are you know, usually personal, for that individual. But yeah, our objective is to bring students through the program and graduate them and get them out the other side. So yeah.
Yeah. How about if this is we Korea has got military service about 1.5 years. So
Yes.
male student might take so 1 year and a half break for their military service. Or is it acceptable while they're studying medicine? Oh, really?
Yeah, it's something. It would be like a leave of absence, so it's something. I don't think we've had to. I think what's happened in the past is students normally have completed their military service before they join the program, or they completed. The student I'm currently working with, who's applying to the US, he completed his military service when he graduated. Yeah, so we've had very, very few students who have taken a leave of absence to do it midway through their program, but that's something that we would explore and accommodate if we needed to. Yeah.
The male students has got so longest military service period. Okay, so
it's tough.
Okay, so how about this so do you provide are you going to provide a scholarship to international students this year too?
The school itself doesn't have a scholarship program, but there are international scholarships that students can apply to. And these are run through our university colleagues in Central University, our International Affairs Office. So there are a number of scholarships that students can apply to, but just not managed. They're not medicine specific, so they would be open to all applicants, international applicants. There are some country specific ones. I don't know them offhand, but we do have some for different countries across the world. But I can send you the link to that, Suno.
Okay.
And then you can share it with anybody who's interested. Like I said, they're not medicine specific, so they would be very competitive. Students would have to apply, but you'd have to receive an offer first before you'd be eligible to apply for the scholarship. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so so it's more than we thought. So already about 47 past the 60 in Korea. So okay, thank you very much. Yeah, anything you can add for this for Korean students?
I missed that. Can you repeat that for me?
Yeah. So anything you can add for Korean students? So are you planning to welcome more Korean students?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we've had some great South Korean students over the last few years, and I think and the more we can have, the better. I mean, we're very diverse, we're very open-minded, and we like to have a program that's representative of the world of medicine, and a medical program with just Irish students wouldn't be reflective of that. So we like our program to be diverse. We like to have students, we like students from all over the world. We don't want a large number of any particular country, because that doesn't reflect the experience the students want to have and will have. If we can have more South Korean students, we'd be very happy to welcome them. Absolutely. And I guess, just some parting words, it is difficult to get into medical school, no matter where you're thinking about it. So continue to work hard, work towards getting those grades. If you're sitting any English language competency exams, work hard. I found myself from reviewing some applications that our international students can go down on some elements of the IELTS in particular, the verbal competency. So make sure you're working really, really hard on meeting the requirements on the English language. And I'm sure any of our current students here on the call will be able to give you advice on any of that. But yeah, the English language is core. English is our first language, native language. We do speak Irish. We have what we'd say a cúpla focal, which is basically a couple of words of Irish. But everything is taught through English. And there's no expectation to learn Irish while you're here. No, it's almost as it's almost as difficult as your language to learn. So yeah, we've no expectation that you'll be learning Irish while you're here, unless you want to. Yeah. So work hard, work on the English, and you know we look forward to hopefully reviewing applications from you here in the next few weeks, few months, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah.
I noticed there's some comments in the chat box, so you know, so we just might wrap up the call. But if you could have a look if there's any questions that we haven't covered.
Yeah, I already go through and then I asked this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, already covered it. Okay.
Okay, super. You. Okay, everybody. Goodbye.
Okay,
have a lovely evening.
Yeah,
goodbye. Bye. Take care. Bye.
Okay. Bye. 감사합니다. 그러면 이걸로 마치겠습니다. 감사합니다. 궁금하신 거 있으면 언제든지 연락 주세요. 바이바이.
Bye.